everyone. My name is Padmini Nidumolu, and I'm the co-founder of Lean and Agile for women, by women, and of women. It's an initiative to bring women in agile and lean spaces across the world with an intention to share the stories and journeys, to inspire each other, to support each other, and form that vibrant community across the world where we all can learn and lean into each other. This initiative was formed last year, 2018, and a major project that we are undertaking this year is to interview 100 women across the world, phenomenal women, inspiring women, motivating women that we all know and interact with in our communities. So we have asked the communities to nominate, and the communities nominated the great women they know, and we got overwhelming response to a request, and we curated the list, and we are still curating the list. And here we are with the list of 100 great women. And we, in fact, upload all these videos to YouTube for easy access. They're also on the website, www.leanandagile.org. But YouTube is best to kind of sort through and search, and the keyword is LIA100, LIA for Lean and Agile. So please come in and find us there, and very soon you will have 100 great stories and just thriving, surviving journeys that you will see. So as part of that, today I'm bringing you yet another just an amazing woman here, and I'm so excited to bring her here. And introducing her was a bit challenging for me because she has so much. I didn't know where to start, but I made an attempt. In fact, most of us are very uncomfortable with the phenomenon called ish, I-S-H, because we don't like people telling us they will meet us at 4-ish, that they will deliver something by Friday-ish. But there's another side to the ish, which I had the fortune of hearing it from this phenomenal woman, from her directly during Agile 2019. So we'll learn more about that from her. So she is an author, a speaker, a presenter, a coach, and a master facilitator. She works for clients in Australia, Europe, Asia, and USA. She has over 20 years of experience. She works with executives, senior leaders, and teams in organizations on major change and transformation projects. She's the author of the best-selling book called Ish and Agile-ish, Leader as Facilitator, Making Sense, Create Change, Visual Mojo, and the 7 Habits of Highly Collaborative People. She presents at several Agile Lean conferences, and some of them, just to name a few: Agile USA, Agile New Zealand, Agile Singapore, Agile Australia, Agile India. Again, as I said, to name a few, she's a very frequent keynote speaker. She's also an experienced board director and chair, and she's obsessed with helping leaders lead their teams through transformation and change. It's my pleasure and huge honor to welcome Lynne Cazaly to LIA100. Hi, Lynne, how are you?
I'm good, Padmini. How are you? Thank you for that introduction. I think I'm blushing.
That was the intention, Lynne. So, so glad to have you here. And I very much enjoyed our brief interaction during Agile 2019.
Yeah, it was great.
And, I think people were very excited to hear you talk about the ish phenomenon. I think the name caught attention. Your talk gained a lot of respect because that is something that we all struggle with. And I, for sure, absolutely resonated with what you said. That's why I stopped by after, and we had that lovely chat.
Yes.
So I would like to begin this interview by asking you, what made you write about ish?
I'd started writing about it in regards to Agile, because I think we can be too black and white, too binary about agile. You know, it has to be like this, or you're agile or you're not. And I believe that there was more scope for us to be agile-ish. So that was my previous
Oh,
book.
okay.
But
Okay.
while I was writing that, book, I thought, hold on a minute, there's more to it that I believe than I understand. And I've, I guess, transformed myself from a perfectionist to more of an ish kind of person. And I thought, this needs to go in a book. So it started by looking at agile and trying not to be perfect. And then I saw there was so much more that I could write on this topic that has appealed to a broader audience than those working in Lean and Agile.
And absolutely, because I think it's also a human phenomenon, right?
Mm.
You know, that need for perfection and
Yeah.
need to be, you know, just, you know, checking all the boxes all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great book, and that's why it made itself to that list. So that's fantastic, Lynne. So tell us a little bit about how you made your way into this agile and lean space.
Well, I'd been doing some facilitation work. So I was I think a pretty okay facilitator. So I was facilitating workshops, and I'd learned about using visuals and had run a few workshops. And I think I then came to the attention of someone in Australia, Ed Wong, and he asked would I speak at one of the local Lean Agile Systems Thinking conferences, the last conference. And so I ran a session there on visual collaboration, I think I called it. But at about the same time, I was doing some work at a financial services business, and they'd established an agile team. And I remember walking past this room where they were working and just thinking, wow, you know, what are they doing in there? That looks way more interesting than the rest of the boring business. So it was also their behaviour and the way they were interacting with each other. I thought, I want to be working in that team, not in the rest of the, you know, boring building. So I remember knocking on the door and just asking the project manager, I said, what are you doing here? He said, oh, well, we do waterfall things over that part of the unit, but in here we're doing some agile ways of working. And so these sorts of things were happening at around about the same time. And yeah, I had the opportunity to train a number of people in agile teams, agile coaches, scrum masters. So train them in facilitation skills and visual skills so that they could engage with their team, but also communicate better with the rest of the business. Because often the business is going, we don't know what you're doing in there. So having some better communication skills meant that they were able to interact with the business better. So I guess that's the kind of happy accidents, I would call them, or collisions of activities that happen that tend to take you then on a path.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the visual facilitation, Lynne. And I've seen some of those artifacts that, you know, you shared. They're phenomenal. They're just amazing. So tell us what gravitated you towards visual facilitation and why that is so significant.
I'd always liked stationery, you know, markers, flip charts. And I remember as a child always loving, you know, the Hello Kitty stationery and always looking for, you know, chalk and chalkboards. My father was a teacher, so he would often bring different bits of stationery and paper and folders and things home. So I think I'd grown up with this visual analog way of thinking and working and playing. But then, you know, you work in computers all the time, and then there's not a lot of optional scope for using tools. But I worked with one manager, and he used to use the most incredible, beautiful, big sheets of shiny paper, and he had these huge, thick coloured textures. And together we facilitated and trained on a lot of content. And so I was gradually introduced to visuals through him, and then went in and got in touch with the visual practitioner field and learned some more skills. And I went, hey, I've been struggling with words for years. Why don't we incorporate some visuals and get our message across quicker? So it's certainly not everything I do, but it's one of the most, curiously, one of the most visible things that I do. Yeah. And I think one of the things that people can really benefit from learning, having that confidence, instead of going, oh, I can't draw, which is very self-focused.
Yes.
But rather go, what could I do? How might I communicate this better? And therefore you make it about the other person, not about you.
And that's very powerful. And I think it's, drawing or visually communicating is not about how best you can do, but how best you can communicate. So that's a great message right there.
Yeah. Great.
Fantastic.
Agree. It's not playing Pictionary,
Yes.
trying to guess a strategy or proving our artistic worth. We're simply trying to exchange information, and the easiest way that we can do that, or the quickest way we can do that, the better.
Absolutely. And that's on my list, to learn, to do, and to be able to kind of communicate through visual facilitation. So one day. So you also mentioned about happy accidents, Lynne, that caught my attention. So when you said happy accidents, and happy accidents do happen to, I should say, most of us, because opportunities are all around us. It's about we identifying and paying attention to the cues, to the visual cues sometimes, but also how we are kind of gravitating towards certain things and how opportunities open up. Although in my conversations with women, I always see an apprehension. I always see a self-doubt. I always see some internal barriers that come and stand in front of you, giving you an "I'm not good enough" syndrome, or "Am I an imposter?" or "Who am I to do this? Who am I to kind of step up?" Comfort zone, syndrome. There are so many, which prevent you from capturing that happy accident, opportunity. How did you cross that hump and grab that opportunity and reach where you are today? I'm sure there is a story there.
Yeah, I think there's many accidents. It's like that sliding doors film that I remember. A part of my early career was very heavily involved in music and radio and broadcasting. And so I was working with, in the music retail business, and could have continued in that field. And I was also working in broadcasting. And I think there was an opportunity there for me to go down that path and, create and produce radio broadcasts, and that would have been my career. But I don't know, other things were happening. I was part of a global group, Junior Chamber, Australian Junior Chamber, and Junior Chamber International, like Lions and Rotary, and they had a very strong training and development aspect or focus. And so I ended up learning about training and influence and communication through that voluntary membership. And that took me to different countries, to their different conferences, and training different cultures. And so I think that was an opportunity that I took. I said, hang on, I could be doing this not just as a volunteer, but as part of my own business. I had a consulting business, just me, not a huge team, just me.
Yeah.
So I think it was, I'm doing this as a volunteer. Maybe I could do this as my business model or my business idea. And then I think that's been an evolution, that each time you're presented with you may not know it's an opportunity, but there's someone asks you to do something, or you're invited to join a meeting, and you can take that opportunity and see who you meet and see who you learn from, and then go, what might I be able to do with this? And I think that's what I've been doing, just these collisions of possibility along the way.
Yeah. So if I may summarize that for our audience here, Lynne, so take the opportunity and iterate your learnings and improve on the way, because sometimes you might not even recognize that it's an opportunity.
Yes. Yeah.
So invite it and be intentional about it.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
not too judgmental of it, because you might think, oh no, I don't need that skill, or no, they're not my people. But unless you try it
Yeah.
on, you don't have to commit forever.
Right.
Try something on, test it out. You're not going to know. I think we make a lot of judgments before um, making a decision or getting involved in something. And I think that's one of the barriers, is saying, no, it's not for me.
Yeah.
We haven't experienced it yet. We don't even know.
Right.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Now, an offshoot on that, then, Lynn, when you explored all these opportunities, and you kind of iterated, and you try to kind of capture those moments, and you kind of explored those spaces.
mm.
Was there a situation or a scenario where you were probably the only woman, or even one of the very few women? If yes, how did you kind of maneuver through those challenges? Because I bet it posed some challenges.
Yeah, definitely. One of my roles, based on a recreation, I used to sail with my father on a dinghy boat. So we had beautiful father-daughter relationship, spending the weekend sailing together. And one of my job roles was to head up yachting in my state here in Victoria, in Australia. So I became the first woman to lead the sport of yachting anywhere in the country. But
Wow.
what would happen, and so yachting, can seem elitist, and it's an Olympic sport, but there's a lot of wonderful young sailors. It's a wonderful social activity.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of the yacht club meetings, a long board table, all men in their blue reefer jackets with their gold buttons, all sitting there. And in I walk, and I had like a red kind of cranberry coloured jacket, and I had red lipstick, and I had really nice earrings, and I just thought, I'm not going to wear navy. I'm not going to sit and blend in. They need to know there's a woman in this room,
Sure.
and there's a woman who's a leader in this industry, and she's here she's going to be changing some things. And yeah, some of that was very challenging. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way you kind of overcame those is how did you kind of, tell yourself that you're going to change that status quo?
I think it was a lot of very small activities over a longer period of time. And working with lots of people, not just the people who declare themselves to be the bosses or the leaders of an industry, but to work with lots of people at lots of different levels, and not assume that the people you need to influence or change are the ones at the top. There's plenty of other influencing to be done at other levels. So that's what I did. And then I got to the point and I went, right, what I've done here is all I can do here. And now it's time to look after myself and get out and go and do my next adventure. I've learned incredible skills and made a real transformation here. Now it's time for my next adventure.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And thanks for sharing that. And so what are some of them, and besides these that you shared, what are some of the highlights of your career?
Highlights.
That's a tough one, right?
Could you look through, if you could draw a timeline and go, what are the things that are,
especially you probably have many. So
yeah, I remember when you feel an incredible overwhelmed feeling of emotion, and a couple of them come to mind. There's a leadership program here in Australia, the Williamson Community Leadership Program, and I tried for several years to get into it, and in the early 2000s I finally got into this leadership program. Runs for a year and exposes you to all manner of topics in a cohort of 33 people. And I remember going to the first gathering of that and just going, yes, this was a goal that I had set and I achieved. Similarly, when I was studying a master's in communication, I remember arriving at the university and looking at the buildings and going, yes, you know,
Arrived.
here I am, this is what I want to do. But can I also say last weekend, I had another yes experience, and I've been obsessed with aviation and aircraft for many years. And so last weekend I did my first helicopter lesson.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations, Lynne. Now that's huge.
That was
How
so much
was
fun.
that?
Yeah, what a peak experience, you know, to
Imagine.
understand how helicopters take off and hover and move left to right. So that was another one of those, yes, it's been on my list, and now I don't know how much further I'll go into the process, but I'm pretty keen.
You tried, at least you
Yeah,
started.
yeah.
Well, I would
keen.
never know how that feels because I have fear of flights, so I would never try
Okay.
that, but I'm very happy for you.
Yeah.
You have done it. Awesome, Lynne. Just a little bit, you know, I want to take you back to your, you know, book writing, right?
Yes.
You've authored so many books, publications, blogs, and you write so much. And, you know, I've met many women who want to write. It could be just a simple blog, a post, whatever it is. But again, you know, because we do something called spirals as part of Lean and Agile. Spirals is, you know, this group of women coming together to kind of support each other, and, you know, they offer whatever they have, and, you know, they kind of absorb from the group. And one of the most common things that we observe is, I want to write. I don't know where to start. I don't even know if I'm good enough to write anything, let alone a book. And that's the hardest nut to crack, because, you know, that's the confidence is probably at its lowest when it comes to writing for most women.
Yes.
So when you first set out to write, whatever that was, I don't know what you started with, but can you share what it felt like? And I'm sure you must have, you know, kind of had some internal dialogue to some extent. How did you take that plunge, and, you know, how did you end up being such a successful author? Please tell us so we can replicate.
Well, my background was in communications, so I had been doing a bit of writing in my career, writing media releases and writing articles and annual reports. But that was always for an organisation or for a business or for a topic. And I didn't really have to struggle to find an idea. The company has plenty of ideas. All I have to do is express them. But when it comes to writing a book that's got your name on it, or a blog post that's got your name on it, I think we go into a very different mind space.
Yes.
And we fear that we're going to be judged.
Yes.
You know, we're going to be judged as harshly as we are judging ourselves.
Yes.
So I had a mentor, Matt Church, who set up the Thought Leaders community here in Australia, and it's now expanding out around the world, and there'll be a Thought Leaders school starting in Boston, I think, next year in the US. But his advice to me was, Lynne, I think you should write a book a year for the next 10 years.
Wow.
Because I had so many thoughts. He said, just get them out and keep publishing your thoughts. Don't just publish your thoughts once and say, oh, that's it, I'm done. You know, hey, I'm the author of blah, blah book. But to show that my thinking keeps evolving, I keep having new ideas, one of the best ways to express that is, you know, distill them down and package them up as a book. So what am I at year 6 of 10 years? So I feel like I've still got at least another 4 books, maybe, you know, another
or even
6
more. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. But don't doubt that I went through intense, you know, internal turmoil about it's not good enough, it's not good enough, it's not good enough. But I set myself a deadline, and then at that deadline I said, it's got to go. I've got to press go on this, or I'll be working on it forever. And that's some of the stuff I've written about in Ish on perfectionism, that we think people are paying way more attention to us than they actually are. It's called the spotlight effect, and we are deluded. We think we're that important in other people's eyes, and they're not paying that much attention. It's like, write the stuff, put it out. People won't even notice.
Yeah.
And you can be practicing blogs, and then by the time you're better at it, now people will notice. So I certainly see that people are paying more attention to my stuff now because it's better than when I started years ago.
I love that, Lynn. If I may summarize that beautifully, I'll take the credit of doing that. First of all, know that you're not that important in the eyes of the world. So it's okay to express, and it's okay to be the ish. You don't have to be perfect, and take that first step. And by the time you take the 100th step, you're already better and people are noticing. So that coincidence is better than not doing it at all.
That's right.
Love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I'm going to repeat this with your permission in many circles, if I may.
Yes, you may. And I think that ties into then when we want to write a book. And so I've had many conversations with people that say, I want to write a book. What publisher should I approach and how do I negotiate it? And one of my first questions is, oh, well, how many blogs have you written? And they'll say, oh, none, I haven't written any blogs. I'm like, well, why is a publisher going to take you on? You haven't even demonstrated you can write. So get writing, get used to writing, get in the habit of writing. And over time, your stuff will get better. And then approach a publisher. But I think the world of self-publishing is so easy today. You can write
do anything with that.
Next week. There's so few barriers. The barriers we put on ourselves are the barriers.
They're definitely self-created and they're definitely internal, but this is a great piece of advice, Lynn. So thank you so much. So again, I know that, you have, your own website, right? Do you want to share a little bit about your website and what you keep adding, these pearls of wisdom that you're sharing with us? I'm sure there's like multiples of that.
Yeah, and you might go to my website and some people have said, oh, there's so much information there. Or someone said, when are you going to update your website or rebrand it? I said, no, it's doing the job. It's good enough right now. It might not be the latest looking thing, but it's, I certainly put in lots of white papers and reports and a huge library of blog posts stretching over the last 8 to 10 years. And for me, that's just the place where I keep putting out ideas and programs, and here's what I'm doing and here's what I'm speaking on. And so when people say, oh, how did I miss that? I'm like, well, come back and have a look. I do put e-news out, but not that often. So fairly active on social media. There's plenty of ways to tap into my ideas and thinking.
Yeah, so it's LynneCazaly.com, and that's one-stop shop to kind of know what's going on with Lynne.
Yes,
and I checked it out myself. It is just fantastic.
Oh, great!
One
great.
can learn so much from that.
There's a shop, so I've got all my books are available there, and a few other online programs or one-on-one calls. So sometimes people just buy an individual call with me. Help them work out something. So I like to, I guess, offer that sort of service rather than saying, oh, you have to buy a package of 10 coaching calls, or maybe we don't want to talk to each other 10 times, maybe we just want to have a bit of an exclusive and interesting call, and you get your questions answered and I help you out and see you later.
Yeah. No, I love that flexibility. So thanks for sharing about that. So as we wrap up this interview then, Lynne, what is that one message, besides everything that you just told us, right? What is that one message that you want people to remember coming from Lynne?
It would be my current message around perfectionism, is that we are way too harsh a judge of the quality of our own work. And you can bet that whatever you're working on at the moment, it is good enough and you can put it out there. And this even happens to me. Just the other day, I looked at a video of myself speaking back in January. So my topic-ish was quite new. And I thought that presentation wasn't very good. I was very hard on myself. And now with hindsight, I looked back at that video, yesterday, and I went, wow, Lynne, you did an awesome job. So, you know, we can criticize the way we look, but what I was trying to do was be more objective about my clarity of thought or my communication process. So don't be, you know, so hard on yourself as if it's a motivation, because it's not.
Right.
You're good enough, you know, you're good enough as you are. Your unique traits and talents, the world needs those. So it's time to put them out there. Stop holding them.
Love that. That is such a powerful and profound message. So simple, but so hard to kind of remind yourself every time. But I think that should be the anchor. That should be something that drives us forward.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Lynne, for
My
sharing
pleasure.
your journey and all those, you know, beautiful pieces of advice and this great message that we are wrapping this up with. And we know where to find you.
Yeah.
And I look forward to meeting you in another summit, another conference, or another interview here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.